Welcome back to Rise with Sarah Sincotta. I am your host, Sarah, and today we have a very, very special guest, Scott Bateman, who is the CEO of Kolmeo. Welcome, Scott. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Great to be with you, Sarah. Thank you.
I just love seeing all of the things that you have been up to. And I just wanted to say again, thank you, because we had an incredible event that we collaborated on together last month, and it was an absolute success. And you and your team are just doing so many great things in the industry. So I just wanted to say a massive thank you.
And again, likewise, congratulations. It's been so awesome to see you just go from strength to strength. We think the work you are doing is super important, so we're really glad to support it.
Oh, thank you so much, Scott. So for those that do not know Scott, I hope that you will get to know Scott really well. But Scott actually has the property management software business, which is Kolmeo. And I just love seeing so many people tagging Kolmeo now and raving about the great platform. So I wanted to ask Scott, can you tell everyone watching a bit about you and the journey of Kolmeo so far and where you're heading?
Sure. So I came to property management about 8 years ago. I came into the biggest rent roll in the country, a company called Little Real Estate, for those that don't know. And we came in with a really simple goal of transforming or reimagining how property management works. What we found is that it was way harder than we could ever have imagined. Certainly not easily solved, despite so many misguided views that it could be. And increasingly what we found is that we needed to kind of reimagine the way technology supported people to do things differently into the future. We didn't feel like the technology that was around was really delivering that for people or had a clear vision that excited us in the way that we were looking for. And just by chance, the gentleman that owned that business also owned a legacy bit of property management software called Agent Plus, which we had loved. It needed to be rebuilt. So we rebuilt that, we turned it into Kolmeo, and now that's kind of the start of this crazy idea that we've got in terms of how we make property management just a far more enjoyable and rewarding experience for everybody involved. So about 3 years ago, I broke off from Little Real Estate, came across to Kolmeo. We built it all through the pandemic, launched it late 2020, and we've just been sort of growing and sort of fine-tuning it ever since.
Amazing. And what about Scott? Tell the viewers, who's Scott? What do you love to do? I mean, I know that because I follow
That's a long answer. Well, I mean, look, I'm a pretty simple person. I work stupid hours, but I'm fortunate that I'm very passionate about what I'm doing, and as a consequence, quite happily to put that time in. Very happily married, got an amazing wife who also works stupid hours, so we tend to, really spend quality time together when we do. But it's a bit of, a lot of food, a lot of good wine, a bit of travel where we can, and just keep things relatively simple. But in part, that is just because the work that we do is so demanding. So it's one of those things that we're pretty fortunate. We don't have complex family needs. We don't have young kids or any of those things. So while we can be deeply immersed in our work, we tend to be.
And you also do have a fur baby.
I do. I have a very spoilt dog who is bigger than most children. My 55-kilo Rottweiler called Oliver, who is just a big old sook. So yeah, he's a very demanding fur baby.
Oh, he's absolutely beautiful. Scott, a few things that you just said then that I really love is, there is a lot of talk about tech. And while you're here, a massive congratulations to the team at Kolmeo for your recent award.
Thank you.
Very, very well deserved. But where do you think property management is heading in terms of technology and for property management businesses?
So it's a long answer, so I'll do my best to keep it simple. One of the things that we observed is that around sort of 8 or 9 years ago, the current generation of property management software that everyone's working on really kind of got started and came to market. And increasingly what we saw is kind of what we talk about as a hub and spoke approach, where you have a bit of kind of CRM, for want of a better word, and then a whole stack of separate plugins to try and get it to do all the things that a property management business needs to do. The benefit of that is that if you get that mix of plugins right, each of them can be very good. The downside is that you're a small to medium business. You've now got 10 software subscriptions, 10 relationships, 10 logins. You've got to train on these different things. And as a consequence, it's very complex. Increasingly, as we go into the future, our argument is that things are starting to consolidate again. And what we're looking for is more of an end-to-end product, so that it's one platform to learn to the extent that's possible. But more importantly, all of the stuff that's starting to happen with data and machine learning the more we can see of that full customer experience, the more that we can do to really automate that, make it more successful, make it easier to manage, make it more cost effective, and just take all the painful, repetitive stuff off the property manager to free them up to do more of the high value, high impact work with their owners and tenants. So I think it's this interesting shift where we've gone from it all getting broken apart to it all starting to come back together. And I think this is something that will happen more and more over the next couple of years.
Yeah. And, there are a lot of businesses that I know that they want to adapt and evolve and embrace the tech, but they're getting lost because there's so many, like you said, different software that one can do this, one can do that. We want to try this, but I think it can get overwhelming. Whereas a product like yours, Scott, and for property managers, it's great to just be able to have one platform that you can use for many different things to actually help with the day-to-day activities. Because one of the main things that I see from landlords is that they just don't hear from their property managers or lack of communication. So with a product like yours, and the fact that they can plug into one platform and they don't need all of these multiple different plugins can create that better customer experience. So they can actually get on the phone or do a video call with their landlords and really talk about how we can elevate that customer experience with utilizing tech.
We agree. We agree. And I think like the thing we sort of talk about often is, think about it this way. Technology is there for getting things done. People are there for shaping how people feel. And if you think about every single thing that goes on in property management, if it's just about a process getting done, let the software do it where it can, and free the person up to do that kind of, face-to-face stuff. Get on the phone at a minimum, ideally go out and see them every now and again, like do those things that actually build connection, deepen the relationship, show them that you are serious about getting to know them and what matters to them. And if you think about, in any day, if I've got 8 hours to spend, 8 hours like that, you're going to build a far better business than 8 hours spent just ticking off processes that software should be able to do for you.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I really, really resonate with that so deeply. And, back when I was a property manager, it was like, we didn't have all of the, systems and processes that are available now. And I think, any property managers watching this, and if you're new to the industry, like be grateful that all of these things exist because, 10 years ago, it just wasn't around. We were still using paper checklists and things were just all over the place. You had paper everywhere, and how amazing that now you can just have everything in the one place, utilize technology to help, streamline your day to day and to be able to provide that great customer service that your clients are paying for at the end of the day. That's what they're paying for.
So true.
I have this view now that, property managers are not just property managers anymore. The expectations of investors and renters have increased, and they are property advisors amongst all of the other hats that they wear. But Scott, I think it's absolutely amazing what you and your team created. So I want to, talk about if someone is interested or perhaps they're not happy with their current platform that they're using at the moment, what would be the best way for them to get in touch? Like, can they get a demo from you guys? Can you go into their office?
We can do both. So depending on where they are and what they're looking to do, you can reach out to me personally if you want to, either via LinkedIn or at scott.bateman@kolmeo.com. You can get in touch with us via the website. I think we're a part of most sort of Facebook groups and stuff these days. So inevitably, you'll find a Kolmean amongst one of these groups that you can reach out to for a chat. And as always, like if we can save you time and just do something via Zoom, we're happy to. But as always, I think it's better face-to-face where you can sit down and just genuinely understand their business, understand what they're trying to do, and get a sense of how we might fit. We are not for everyone, and we say that pretty openly. Like some businesses are just better served by whatever they've been using. And I think the comment I'd always make is don't see technology as the solution to your problems. Be really clear about what you want your business to achieve, and then work back to what do we need the technology to do? Because you might be able to get it out of your current product, which is awesome if you can, or something like ours may be exactly what you need, in which case we're all clearer about what that is and why.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will share your details. So anyone watching, I will share Scott and Kolmeo team details so that you can get in touch, but definitely encourage to have that one-to-one in-person meeting because it is just invaluable. Scott, your journey has been phenomenal. And I know that you spoke about it, earlier, and I've, watched many different interviews that you've done. And I was like, I need to get him on the YouTube channel. And I was like, I really want to touch base on a growth mindset, because as much as, I'm there and helping business development managers who predominantly are hired to grow the business, more and more I'm actually seeing property managers stepping up, embracing the growth of their business, and are really achieving great results for new clients. And I have this philosophy that they must be doing really good things in terms of their customer service
Yep.
and their client retention to be able to get that growth from their current clients, because they're not going to be prospecting or doing lead gen like business development managers are typically employed to do. So what is your view on a growth mindset for property managers?
Really, it's a really good point, actually. I think the thing on my mind is that, like, in any business, sales and growth is the ultimate measure of customer satisfaction. Because if someone really likes what you are doing, they won't want to shut up about you. Like, they'll want to tell other people about you. And sometimes they don't know how, they don't know that it's important to you, all of those things. I think even if you're not a salesperson, in inverted commas, having the kind of view that actually my measure here is if I do a great job, this person will want to introduce me to somebody else. And then still to step back from that and say, well, if service is really important to me, what have I got to do that is so impressive for this person that they want to reach out and tell someone or bring another property to me if they've got it elsewhere, whatever it may be. So I think it's a really good thing for a whole host of reasons. One, it gives you a really good, clear indicator that you are absolutely on point for this customer and they're liking what you're doing. And sometimes just asking for the business, they might actually say, well, to be honest, I haven't been that happy for the last couple of months. Fabulous. Tell me why. Let's pull it apart and let's see if I can fix that. So you get really good real-time feedback. The other thing is think about your own career and your future and wherever it is you want to go next. Each of the things that you might want to do is going to benefit from having this skill around being able to just sit with someone and ask for an opportunity, because it could be a promotion, it could be a move into a completely different industry at some point, it could be for a pay rise. Like, all of these things come from that same skill set, which is how do I convey my value and how do I ask for something once I'm clear that they understand and agree with me that that value is there. So I think, yeah, it's a really pertinent point that you've made, Sarah, because too few really sort of stop to think about what those opportunities could be. And there's a number of benefits that come from it.
Oh, absolutely. And I actually saw, Tom Panos actually did a bit of a spicy post the other day on Facebook, and I couldn't resist. I did comment. And it was from a sales perspective, like I'm going to put sales again in that, about, some business owners being fearful of if their employees start promoting their services from a personal account that's still linked to the business, mind you, but then potentially moving on and that database following them. And I have a view on this, but would love to know your view on this too, Scott. Mine was, I think it's a win-win, okay? Because if your team are embracing social media in the digital world and they're showcasing what they're doing every day, the conversations they're having, how they're helping their, landlords or their tenants, then it builds this greater awareness from real life, real-time stories while still being able to grow the database of the business, right? So that was my view on it. The other thing you mentioned before is value in what you spoke about. And I think I'm loving seeing these conversations happen now in the industry about values. Like, what are your individual values? What are the business values? But I'm still seeing many people that I'm working with not understanding the brand and actually what the brand means and the values behind the brand. So I think my question here is, Scott, like, do you believe or have you got a similar view on what I have? And why do you think values are so important for an individual to know for the business?
So there's a few parts to answering that. I do agree with you as a starting point. I'll share with you. Let's start with brand and what brand is all about, because there was a fabulous thing that I saw just recently on Twitter, I think, that I think really illustrates this beautifully. They said, imagine you find out today that Nike is going to open a hotel. Sit back, close your eyes, and try and picture what that would look like. I think most of us could get a clear sense of what a Nike hotel experience would be. And they said that is the power of brand. Like, you can already see what this completely different product from them would look like because you're so clear about what that company is all about. Yeah. They said, conversely, picture the Hyatt deciding they're going to make shoes. And it's like, who knows? Who knows what the hell a Hyatt shoe would look like? So we can clearly see the power of brand done really well. And often that means being just super clear and super repetitive about what makes you, you. What does the business believe? What's the purpose that it's there to achieve, and so on. And as a consequence, Nike isn't famous because of any one person's at Nike. Nike's famous because the company communicates often and clearly about what matters to them and why you'd want to keep using their products. People often make the mistake of thinking that we don't want to put our people up on a pedestal, we don't want to let them on social or whatever, sort of, to Tom's point. I disagree with Tom, though. I agree with you. I think at the end of the day, this is a great way for that person to extend your brand because they become the spokesperson for it or the representative for it. But if you've done enough work in building that connection with the customer as the company, the customer's not going anywhere when that one person leaves. I came from financial services, and we saw this fascinating bit of data where if your salary went into our bank account, even though you could bank with 4 or 5 banks, you thought of us as your bank. We were your primary bank. And it wouldn't matter what we did, you wouldn't leave because you were so used to managing your salary through our internet banking technology. Yeah. So we found that even if you liked your banker, you weren't changing banks when your banker went from bank to bank because we'd build a connection with you in that case through the tech. But often it's not about the tech. It's about all the other things businesses do to really connect with their customers. So I think I agree with you wholeheartedly. You can get the best of both worlds, but you've got to be really deliberate about working with that goal in mind.
Yeah. And I'll use a real life example because I've been in was in business development for many years and had worked with a few different companies. There was only probably not even a handful of clients that did change to the different agency that I went to, but it wasn't because I moved. It was because an event happened, they weren't happy, and then they looked me up where I had gone. So I think there is this also, like going back to what you said, is I was an extension of the business that I worked for, but I sold the services of the team and the business. I didn't sell myself. People did business with me because of who I was. And yes, I was focused on relationships and I didn't look at myself as really a selling agent. I was very clear on relationships, but that's why, I didn't leave a business and have heaps of people coming after me. It's because I was representing the business. I was clear on the values of the businesses that I work for. So I think today, especially if any, property managers or BDMs or directors are watching this too, is have the conversations with your team about the vision of the business, about the brand, what it stands for. Get them excited, get them involved. And I always say, like, make some noise. If everyone is showing up in the team on social media, can you imagine the kind of growth that business would have? Because it's that recognition.
So true. There's a meme that gets around from time to time. I hate most memes on LinkedIn, to be honest, but there's one that I've seen that I really do love. And it's supposedly a conversation between the CFO and the CEO. And the CFO wants to put people through training. And the CEO says, what happens if, maybe the other way around. But anyway, one of them says, I'm putting through this training. The other says, what happens if we spend all that money and they leave? And the other says, well, what happens if we don't and they stay? And it's a really interesting way to think about, sure, there's risk, but how much worse is it if you try and kind of bottle everything up and as a consequence, nothing has a chance to happen. So free them up, let them go out and sell your business and sell the brand and sell the vision and sell the dream. Yes. And inevitably, sure, from time to time, they'll go and a customer will follow. But for the most part, you're going to grow more. You're going to have something that's far more convincing. You've got so many more people telling the same story. And it's a really powerful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. I have seen that meme and it's definitely resonated. I loved, I can't remember, I think it was with Dean that and it was funny because I did a similar post, but we're talking about the hunter and the farmer. Yeah. Because typically property managers would be the farmer. Mm-hmm. Because they're nurturing their clients, they're, making sure that they're going above and beyond expectations to get that real customer experience, to get the clients, referring them to their friends and family, their work colleagues. But now what I am seeing is that balance, right? Because a BDM typically will be more of a hunter because they are responsible for getting that new clients in. But I am seeing, and I'm loving that property managers now also embracing the opportunities that exist within their current clients. And that was going back to what you said earlier about, a platform like Kolmeo, where you can actually get really great data analytics and understanding your clients. that you currently have to be able to then go out and hunt for the same clients that you already are servicing. Like, how good is that?
So true. We had when I was previously in property management running growth, we had a fascinating program we were running where we were surveying tenants at certain touch points. And as soon as we got a consistent set of 9s or 10s from the tenants, we would reach out to the tenant and say, hey, thanks so much. We're so grateful that you're having a good time. Do you know anybody that's got a property? Because we would love to help that person's tenants, just like we've helped you. And we've got, a Cosmo gift card or whatever it might be as a thank you if you do. And you'd be surprised just how much opportunity came from that. And it means two things. Tenant feels valued, tenant feels heard, and now you've got opportunity and growth from a channel that's just completely untouched normally. So it's amazing you can get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I really like, so we did NPS scoring. So which was, I'm not sure if that was similar to what you
Same thing.
got. Yeah. But that was really good. And I think because tenants can get forgotten about, BDs aren't going to be talking to the tenants. They're typically dealing with the landlord. So from, property manager's perspective as well, it's even asking the question, and even if they don't list the properties, but they can still get that opportunity for the BD if required. But it all starts with asking the question. So being comfortable in knowing the vision, the values of the business with opportunities that are already there in their current client database, which, like you said, there's still a lot of businesses that aren't tapping into that, and would love to see more of that happen. But I think it all starts with having a great platform like yours, Kolmeo, so that you can really understand who your clients are to then be able to do those surveys. And I think I have spoken to some business owners where they're a bit scared about what will happen, but it's like, but even if it is not what you expected, then that's where the areas to improve. And that's going back to that growth mindset, because if you don't do that survey and you don't identify the things that you need to improve in the business, then you're going to be doing the same thing. You're going to be getting the same results. And then you're not going to get tenants or landlords talking about how amazing your services are, because perhaps it's not that great. And there needs to be things that you need to work on. Or on the other hand, if you get one that is amazing, I would still be reaching out to those landlords, being like, what do you love? Like, why did you rate us so highly? Because typically you go, oh yeah, they rated us a 9 and a 10. It was great. But what specifically is it about that? Because we want to do more of that, right? Would you agree?
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. And I think this is the problem though, like you're spot on the money. People are scared of what might come back. And I'd argue that you hearing it doesn't mean that it's gone from not existing to existing. It's already being felt. They're just telling it to someone else. So wouldn't you rather give them a chance to tell you so that they can get it off their chest if something is wrong and you can fix it, rather than teeing off on an online forum or telling their friends, whatever it might be. And I think people, have this delusion that asking for the feedback means the feedback exists for the first time. It doesn't. It just means you're getting a hold of it rather than hoping that they're saying good things and completely unaware, blissfully perhaps, when something's going wrong because they're saying bad things. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Scott, there has been so many great takeaways from today. And we met for the first time, I think it was, nearly a year ago now. The energy that you have, and not just you, but this is a perfect example of a business that just shares and is the vision, the values, and in such alignment, because the team at Kolmeo, like, they're just so amazing, a ball of fun, and the service that you guys are providing is just phenomenal. So I think, a massive
thank you.
Really looking forward to, I love your ongoing support, and thank you so much for Rise. And for those that are coming to our event on the 12th of October in Melbourne, Kolmeo is going to be there. So you get to the chance to meet them in person as well and experience the beautiful energy. And yeah, I just want to thank you again, Scott, for today. Like, so many great takeaways, and just love your leadership and your growth mindset and all of your contributions to the industry.
The pleasure is all mine and all ours. We're very grateful to work with you. Thanks, Sarah.
Oh, thanks, Scott. Well, for those watching in true Sarah Cincotta style, keep rising, and I will share Scott's details so you can get in touch with Kolmeo very soon. Thank you.